The Sue were directly stupid. Compared with these regular crystals in the brocade bag, the more than 3,000 colorful fairy fish clothes don't even fart. Because his grandfather is a 5-star creator, the Sue people generally know the speed of a 5-star creator's regular crystallization through regular crystal. My grandfather has been a 5-star creator for more than 20 years. It takes at least 4 hours to prepare a regular crystal. There are at least 400 regular crystals in the brocade bag. According to his grandfather's speed, even if he doesn't sleep, it will take about 70 days. How long has he joined the Celestial Body Council and how can he get so many resources? At this time, the Sue people only heard Lin Yuan speak. The spiritual material that can strengthen the soul will be given to you when I come back from the Holy Wood City. The life water of the Sea Demon Emperor Zihan contracted by Lin Yuan can permanently freeze the soul of life and generate the soul of frost. The soul of frost has the effect of improving soul power. It's easy to cultivate the soul of frost in a place surrounded by enemies like Haiwen mainland. During this period of time in the Holy Wood City of Shenmue Federation, I can deploy many frost souls. The soul of frost is useful to many spirits in the forest and the people around them. After hearing Lin Yuan's words, the Sue people were deeply moved. History. Chapter 1903. Name. Fey Evolution Merchant Author. Amber Button. Plus turn on reset. The Sue have always been the pride of heaven. After the fall of the Dark Continent and the collapse of the 7 Dark States, the Sue suddenly fell from the altar into the dust. After months of training in the dust, the Sue people are willing to exchange everything for a chance to survive. The Celestial Body Council saved the Sue people. The Sue people think Lin Yuan should do whatever he wants. But Lin Yuan is willing to give himself so many resources to improve his strength. Even my grandfather can't give me so much at one time. Somehow, the eyes of the Sue were slightly red. After a long time, Su Yi raised his eyes and whispered to Lin Yuan seriously. Thank you, Lin Yuan. I have everything here. Don't worry. After receiving the resources given by Lin Yuan, the Sue people immediately returned to their rooms in the underground palace. I want to take advantage of the 3 days when Lin is far away to improve my strength. Tarai also skillfully returned to his territory and learned to be an excellent lord. After studying with the Sue for 2 months, Tarai, a simple-minded teenager, learned at least 1.8 million hearts. Ter knows very well that once the news that his master, a 4-star peak creator, has settled in his territory gets out, he is bound to get involved in a storm. As a boy from a small tribe, Tarai is most afraid of making trouble. However, since Lin Yuan has arranged this plan, he will certainly not put himself in danger. This is Terry's trust in Lin Yuan. Tarai never had a chance to see the big tribes of the Hammer Federation. Once Lin Yuan's plan is implemented, I can't say that I can go to the capital of the Hammer Federation and the Cold Hammer tribe with Lin Yuan. After Lin Yuan came to Shenmue Union for half a day, he basically mastered the context of things here. Laid out his next plan. However, in addition to these, Lin Yuan has a more important thing to do. That is to see to what extent Yinhua has expanded the Flower Sea after this period of development. Through the contract, Lin Yuan aroused Yinhua in his heart. When Lin Yuan just walked out of the underground palace, Yinhua rushed into Lin Yuan's arms. Then he sat on Lin Yuan's ear. Yinhua hasn't seen Lin Yuan for more than 2 months. Yinhua misses Lin Yuan very much at this time. Sometimes I even think that Lin Yuan is not interested in predating dimensional organisms. At present, the arrival of Lin Yuan makes Yinhua full of vitality immediately. While closely interacting with Yinhua, Lin Yuan subconsciously uses Mobius's skills and real data to investigate Yinhua. Name of spirit object, buried sea lotus, Yinhua. Species and genus of spirit things, Clematis of Juchinaceae. Spirit level, golden level, 610. Spirit department, the source department is the goblin department. Spirit quality, legendary quality. Skill. Coral insect patterns, refining according to the insect patterns absorbed from coral jade with insect patterns can stimulate different effects. 1. Pattern raising mode. Warm the insect patterns absorbed from coral jade in the white bone lotus. The white bone lotus will warm the vitality and soul of the living, so that the insect patterns can give birth to spirituality. At the same time, the awakened spiritual insect patterns can enhance the hardness and ductility of the white bone lotus with their pre-life characteristics. 2. Burial pattern mode. The insect pattern is exiled from the coral laurel to the white bone lotus. The insect pattern eats the white bone lotus in the white bone lotus and becomes a bone insect. The bone insect retains the characteristics of the insect pattern before its death. According to its characteristics, it can launch an attack on the outsiders in the white bone lotus and suck the vitality of the outsiders. When the alien's vitality is weak, it can also absorb the alien's soul through the alien's weak body. Mist of bone powder, the white bone lotus will spit out the indigestible part of the bones of the living. This light scaly bone powder will fly over the white bone lotus to cover up to a certain extent, and coral insect patterns can be accommodated in the bone powder. Bone blood insect intoxication. When being bitten by the bone insect transformed by insect grain, it will spontaneously enter the intoxicated state. The target in the intoxicated state will not feel pain, and will slow down the operation of the original power in the body. Lotus blossom. The structure of the white bone flower C has changed. The white bone lotus is divided into the main lotus and the auxiliary lotus. The auxiliary lotus strengthens the combat ability, and the main lotus loses all the combat ability. Each bloom of the main lotus will use the insect patterns and absorbed vitality contained in the flower C to breed a skeleton insect, which can devour the GU insect and recover the damaged body. Exclusive features. Hermit dead servants. While killing the target, the white bone lotus will devour the target's body, integrate the first 1% of the target's strength into the target's soul, and breathe the soul into a dead soul. The formed dead souls will devour each other, and finally refine into 36 hermit dead servants in the white bone lotus. Every hermit dead servant can deepen a layer of hermit fog empty on the white bone lotus. A probe. Lin Yuan suddenly found. Unknowingly, more than 2 months later, Yinhua has changed the level from the original copper level to level 8 elite quality. Promoted to the level of legend quality of level 6 of the Golden Terrace. For 2 months, he kept swallowing the alien tide gushing from the cracks of 4 dimensions. It is reasonable to say that raising the order by 1 large order and 2 small orders is not high. But the key point is that the quality of Yinhua has improved from the original elite quality to the legendary quality. The improvement of quality is a very difficult thing for any spirit. What's more, Yinhua, a plant cancer-like spirit, has transformed into a goblin. After that, Yinhua only needs to continuously obtain life energy and soul energy from the outside world and launch an impact towards a higher level. With the promotion of rank, Yinhuaxin gained 2 skills. These 2 skills are silver level skill, Bone Blood Insect Drunk, and golden level skill Lotus Bloom. Lin Yuan is very satisfied with the silver level skill Bone Blood Insect Drunk and the golden level skill Lotus Blossom. Lin Yuan's development route for Lian Hua is a spirit thing that can independently generate a forbidden area. Originally, the ordinary skill Coral Insect Pattern, the elite skill Bone Powder Fog, and the exclusive characteristics of the Hermit Dead Servant have made varying high Lianhua do this. Now, the silver level skill Bone Blood Insect Drunk and the golden level skill Lotus Bloom, which has completely strengthened Yinhua. Bone Blood Bug Intoxication makes the creatures entering the Sea of Flowers enter a state of intoxication in the process of being hurt. There will be no perception. It is likely that an adventurer team entered the Sea of Flowers, and the whole team members are still talking and laughing. But when you look back at your teammates, you will find that your teammates are still talking and bold. The arms and even the trunk have been eaten by the insects. History. Chapter 1904. Name. Fey Evolution Merchant Author. Amber Button. Plus turn on reset. If the silver level skill of Yinhua is drunk, it can only target weak targets. Lin Yuan won't give such a high affirmation of skill Bone Blood Bug Intoxication. Bone Blood Bug Intoxication can not only make the target enter the intoxicated state. It can also slow down the operation of the original power in the target. The original power in the main world is spiritual power. Once the operation of Reiki slows down, the strength of both Reiki professionals and Reiki objects will be greatly reduced. This makes Yinhua's silver level skill Bone Blood Bug Drunk, which can effectively limit the strong. It can be said that the running speed of the spiritual force in the body is a very strong limiting means. As for the golden level skills, the appearance of Lotus Blossom is equivalent to a perfect distribution of Huahai's combat power. Originally, in the Sea of White Bone Lotus, all White Bone Lotus are the same and have the same function. Now, with the distinction of main lotus and auxiliary lotus, it is equivalent to castrating part of the ability of each White Bone Lotus, saving a lot of energy. These energies can greatly accelerate the spreading speed of the White Bone Lotus Flower C. Let the White Bone Lotus Flower C have a higher fault tolerance rate, and it is easier to complete the Flower C again when it is damaged. Mobius's skill Real Data, although it can show the skills in front of Lin Yuan. However, Lin Yuan can't understand how much Fu Lian's combat ability has been strengthened through Real Data. Lin Yuan is curious about Fu Lian's strength and combat ability. I also want to see what kind of existence the skeleton insects bred by the main lotus consume, a variety of insect patterns and vitality. All the way to the edge of the white bone lotus sea. Because Lin Yuan is the contractor of Yinhua, he can know the internal situation of Huahai through the white fog floating above. But Lu Jia found that the white fog had been thick enough to look like milk floating in the water. Ordinary people put their palms into the white fog. It is estimated that even their palms can't completely see the truth. Even Reiki professionals above level B can't see the scene 10 meters away when they operate Reiki. Lin Yuan saw that Lu Jia was trying his best to operate his spiritual power and peeked at the situation in the flower sea. Lin Yuan simply let Yinhua disperse the fog, covering up within 5 kilometers in front of himself and Lu Jia. At present, the fog over the white bone lotus has become extremely rich. On the one hand, it is related to the skill of burying sea lotus, bone powder and fog. The sea of flowers swallowed up too many living people. The undigested scaly bone powder in the bones of the living people was spitted out by the white bone lotus and danced in the air. It can block the line of sight to a great extent. But now the fog is several times richer than before, not just because there is too much scaly bone powder vomited by the white bone lotus. After Lin Yuan communicated with Yinhua, Lin Yuan learned. Yinhua's exclusive characteristic, the hermit dead servant, has become 17 in 2 months. The appearance of every hermit dead servant can swing a layer of hermit fog over the white bone lotus sea. 17 layers of hermit fog, combined with the sky of scaly bone powder, has the current effect. In an instant, the fog cleared. Lu Jia looked at the ferocious and monstrous white bone lotus in front of him, wantonly and perversely in full bloom. Every flower swaying like the claws and teeth of the devil. This sea of flowers has completely become a dead field. As soon as the tide of strange animals gushing out of those dimensional cracks that broke at the beginning fell into the sea of flowers, it would immediately be twisted into fragments by the white bone lotus. Those white bone lotus under the dimensional crack are obviously stronger than the roots of white bone lotus in other places. The largest diameter of the flower is more than 1 meter. Lu Jia watched a 2-dimensional biological acid explosion spider 1 meter long. The scene of being directly pinched and exploded by this white bone lotus with a diameter of more than 1 meter. Lu Jia knew that Yinhua was made from the plant carcinoid spirit buried in the sea Lianhua. At present, Lu Jia suddenly understood that the strength of cancer spirit lies in its long-term accumulation and development, rather than its sudden outbreak of combat power. In the process of Lu Ji's thinking, he only heard Lin Yuan say, "Brother Lu, I use broken empty stones to open several first-order dimensional cracks. I feel that the effect is not good. Why don't you let your dimensional moth chew on these dimensional cracks and change these dimensional cracks from the first-class peak to the second-class peak?" Hearing Lin Yuan's words, Lu Jia summoned the dimensional moth directly. When Lin Yuan opened 4 first-order dimensional cracks over the unformed white bone lotus flower sea, Lu Jia was also worried about Yinhua. But after seeing how Yinhua was on the bronze level, the imperial envoy killed a large number of white bone lotus creatures with the same strength as the spirit of the gold level. Lu Jia was completely relieved of the white bone lotus sea. At the beginning, Lu Jia left 10 meat grinding blade insects not to really help Yinhua. Just in case. In case of any dimensional crack, multiple third-order dimensional creatures will be ejected at once. Yinhua is not easy to solve quickly, and its own meat grinding blade insects can also play a role in revealing the bottom. The second-level peak dimensional crack can only gush forth fourth-level dimensional creatures at most. These 4-dimensional creatures with the same strength as the platinum-level spirit can't be the opponent of the white bone lotus flower sea. In the process of going to Oak City, Lu Jia found that the white bone fog had been spread outside Nanmu City. If it was not Lin Yuan's original instruction to Yinhua, it would be to stop expansion outside Nanmu City. I'm afraid the flower sea of white bone lotus has swallowed Nanmu at this time. Once you use the dimensional moth, expand all these dimensional cracks to the level of secondary peak. The strength of Yinhua and the strength of Huahai will increase sharply in a short time. Yinhua has long felt that some of the food falling from these dimensional cracks is not enough to eat. Now Lin Yuan asks Lu Jia to help him add food. Yinhua is happy to shuttle over the sea of flowers. In the sea of flowers, he picked several petite white bone lotus flowers to form a bouquet and handed them to Lin Yuan and Lu Jia respectively. The strength of this insect-like cancer spirit has reached level 10 legendary quality of diamond level. It's easy to gnaw at the space barrier. Logically speaking, even if the dimensional lantern moth is an insect cancer spirit of diamond level 10 legendary quality, its intelligence is still chaotic. Precise instructions cannot be executed. However, in this case, Lu Jia still assured the dimensional moth to gnaw at the space barrier and expand the dimensional crack. It is because Lu Jia has used the cocoon demon embryo of derived organisms to parasitize the dimensional lampworm. At this time, the dimensional lampworm has become a goblin-derived creature with 2 pairs of wings. Dimensional moths are not good at fighting, but Lu Jia still chooses to strengthen dimensional moths. On the one hand, it is because the dimensional moth is Lu Jia's mobile arsenal. The stronger the strength of the dimensional moth, the more insect units it can carry. History. Chapter 1905. Name: Fey Evolution Merchant Author, Amber Button. Plus turn on reset. In the process of war preparation, the insect mother can produce a large number of insect units in the abdomen of the dimensional moth. Then fill up your state. On the other hand, Lu Jia thought that with the continuous improvement of the strength of the dimensional moth, it is likely to gnaw out the dimensional crack of level 5. For the weak, the 5-dimensional crack is a desperate situation. But for the strong, the 5-dimensional crack is indeed a treasure house of resources. There are a lot of rare resources, not to mention the things that produce the holy source. The number of white followers in the City of the Sky is increasing. These followers in white urgently need a place suitable for training. Level 5-dimensional crack is the best choice for white followers to experience. It can not only exercise strength, but also have a lot of income. In addition, Lu Jia saw the importance of a 6-level dimensional crack to a federation. According to Lu Jia's estimation, the strength of the dimensional lantern moth was promoted to the lord level and became a fairy of mythology. We should be able to gnaw out the cracks in the 5th dimension. If the strength of the dimensional moth can continue to rise, the time to achieve immortality and even eternity, it's not necessarily impossible to gnaw out the crack of level 6 dimension. Because the dimensional moth has transformed into a goblin, after feeling the breath of Yinhua, the dimensional moth appears very restrained and afraid. Yinhua can tell who is his own. Yinhua played well with Lu Jia's insect mother before. The Dimension Light Moth has a graceful taste, and the appearance of the Dimension Light Moth is to make yourself eat more. So Yinhua took the initiative to release goodwill to the dimensional moth. The Dimensional Light Moth, which has evolved into a goblin through cocooning demon embryo, has a higher intelligence than an ordinary person. The goblin dimensional moth can well understand and complete the instructions issued by Lu Jia. Now the dimensional moth opens up dimensional cracks, not just to eat and fill their stomachs. Instead, we can purposefully determine the strength of dimensional cracks according to the amount of food we eat. Under the careful nibbling of the dimensional moth, the abyss and dimensional crack of the 1st level peak suddenly became the 2nd level peak. The abyss dimension crack mixed with crimson in the dark is expanding rapidly, spitting out a large number of abyss demons like the king of the stomach. The quantity and quality of exotic animal tides will be qualitatively improved with each level of dimensional cracks. As usual, the level 1 peak is a level 3 demon rarely spit out in the abyss dimensional crack. Now it has become an ordinary thing. Among the 500 demons pouring out, there were 2 level 3 abyss demons. The devil is the strongest single creature in all dimensions. However, the strength has risen to the golden level. The legendary Yinhua drives the flower sea. It is not difficult to solve these 3-level demons. The white bone lotus, the size of a washbasin, pounced on these 3-level demons like a spirit snake. Of the 2 level 3 demons, the horn demon is the strongest. The 3rd level horn demon is about 2 meters high and 3.5 meters long. It looks like a red orangutan with lizard scales. The long horn on his head is nearly 40 centimeters, with a sharp dark on. The 3rd level horn demon spewed out a flame in his roar. At the same time, he hit the first white bone lotus with his long horn. This white boned lotus, the size of a washbasin, turned into debris under the impact of fire and long horns. However, the other white bone lotus has pulled pieces of flesh and blood off the horn demon in the opening and closing room. The dark red skin of Horndemon can't play a defensive role at all. The 3rd level horn demons were like this, and other low-level demons were soon swallowed up by the sea of flowers. Just then, the red light of the 2nd level peak abyss dimensional crack flashed. A huge object nearly 6 meters long drilled out of the crack. The giant was covered with bone spurs and its tail was high. The skull has a big mouth as long as the jaw. The sharp teeth in the mouth show out of the lips, and the 3 curved bone corners on the top of the head gather together. It's much stronger than the horn of the 3rd-level horn demon just now. Lin Yuan immediately recognized the identity of the giant. In the process of evolution, horny demons have a small chance to evolve into horny demons. In the process of evolution into horny terror, there is a small probability that it will mutate into bone terror. The bone terror devil is the horn terror devil whose whole bones are keratinized. Keratinized bones pierce out of the skin and form an external protective layer like bones. In general, a bone terror can pick 3 horned monsters. When a horned demon is at level 4, it becomes a bone terror demon. He is the chosen son of the horned devil. In the research of Wei Yao scholars, bone terror demons are well deserved to be the strongest in the same level among the dimensional creatures below level 6. This level 4 bone monster is the peak combat power of level 4 dimensional creatures. Lin Yuan always wanted to verify the combat ability of the white bone lotus flower sea. This level 4 bone monster is the best touchstone in the white bone lotus flower sea. However, Lin Yuan found that Yinhua didn't pay attention to the level 4 bone demon at all. At this time, Lin Yuan suddenly saw 3 white bone lotus plants with a crown of more than 2 meters drilled out of the sea of flowers. The 3 white bone lotus plants with a crown width of 2 meters glitter with silver awns containing 3 colors. Lin Yuan immediately knew that these 3 special white bone lotus should be the so-called auxiliary lotus. Level 4 demons already have a lot of wisdom. After the appearance of the bone terror devil, he immediately realized that he was in danger. In case of danger, demons often become extremely violent. The horny demon took the initiative to attack and threw his tail on a lotus. He swung off several petals nearly 1 meter long. But this crippled auxiliary lotus, just like unaffected, closed its petals. Like a big white bone hand, he clenched the tail of the bone terror devil in his hand. The other 2 auxiliary lotus plants closed their petals from left to right and tightly bit on the bodies on both sides of the bone terror devil. However, as a level 6 meta creature, the bone terror devil has the strongest existence in the same level below. Has its own strong reason. Under the constant attack of 2 Fu lotus, the keratinized skeleton of bone terror devil just appeared a little crack and failed to disintegrate. On the contrary, it was the fierce struggle of the bone terror devil that made the 2 auxiliary lotus lose a lot of petals. Yinhua is obviously dissatisfied with this situation. Yinhua has been growing up. Seeing Lin Yuan this time, she urgently wants to show her strength to Lin Yuan. But now, because of this bone demon, he made himself lose face in front of Lin Yuan. The sea of flowers surged violently, and a huge lotus with colorful light was in full bloom in the sea of flowers. This huge lotus flower is so soft that it sways and curls under the wind. Lin Yuan's secret road. This is the so-called Lord Lotus. In the forest, only a spider-type bone worm about half a meter long was hatched from the flower bud of the main lotus. History. Chapter 1906. Name. Fey Evolution Merchant Author. Amber Button. Plus turn on reset. A bone worm hatched, and the white bone lotus immediately covered the main lotus. The main lotus also circled its neck and buried itself under the sea of white bone lotus. This spider-shaped bone worm kicked gently on the ground with 8 feet. They fell lightly on the back of the 4th-level bone terror devil. Then, the bone worm opened a small hole on the hardest back plate outside the bone terror devil. Then the half-meter-long body followed the small hole and got into the bone terror devil. The voice of tooth acid sounded in the sea of flowers with the fierce struggle and roar of bone terror. In just a few seconds, the bone terror stopped struggling. The body disintegrated from the inside as deeply buried under the flower sea and becomes the nutrient of the flower sea. Seeing the main lotus and auxiliary lotus blooming from Yinhua's skill lotus, we easily solved the bone terror of the ceiling of level 4 dimensional biological combat power. Did not let the bone terror demon cause much damage to the flower sea. Lin Yuan asked Yinhua at his ear. Yinhua, how many main lotus and auxiliary lotus can you give birth to at the same time? Yinhua I've been focusing on improving the average level of Huahai these days. For those newly spread flowers, it still needs a lot of life energy and bones to strengthen. So I haven't cultivated much of the main lotus and auxiliary lotus. Now there are only about 5,000 auxiliary lotus flowers, which are evenly distributed throughout the flower sea by me. The main lotus is the same. There are about 100. But Yinhua is very strong. I have bred a total of 500 bone worms, which are stored on the edge of the flower sea. To deal with the invaders who invaded the flower sea. Lin Yuan smacks at Yinhua's words. 5,000 auxiliary lotus, 1,000 main lotus, and 500 bone worms. This is still under the condition that Yinhua has not made efforts to cultivate these main lotus and auxiliary lotus. Now the aura professionals who have diamond level auras enter the flower sea. I'm afraid they can't leave again. Seeing the strength of Yinhua, Lin Yuan can safely let Lu Jia command the dimensional moth to raise the other 3 first-class peak dimensional cracks to the second-class peak. Soon, alien insects, underground and swamp dimensional cracks were promoted under the mouth of dimensional moth. A large number of strange animals surged out. Several fourth-order dimensional creatures and dozens of third-order dimensional creatures are raging in the sea of flowers. At this time, more than a dozen virtual shadows composed of souls held a black sickle and frequently waved sickles at these dimensional